Howdy everybody, what's up? How's it going? My name is Sabina. I am the artist and brain and person behind Left-Handed Alchemy, a jewelry brand and personal brand about being your most authentic self and expressing yourself authentically and adorning your body in beautiful ways and just being silly and healing trauma and figuring things out along the way because we're young and life is weird and no one gave us a book on how to do any of this, so we're figuring things out as we go. I am making a video. As you can see, we're talking to each other. I'm talking to you mostly. You're listening. I'm talking on Left-Handed Alchemy YouTube channel. And this is the first sit-down video that I've done in a very long time because I have been simply afraid. I have been afraid to show up in this space for a few reasons. One being that the first video I ever posted on this channel did really well, and it was a tutorial video. And I felt then immediately put in a box, like I had to make tutorial videos only in order to build this channel and be successful. And I didn't really want to do that. So I froze and I ran away and didn't do much else with this channel. I made a few other tutorial videos, but the more that I did them, the more I realized I was attracting clients that weren't really in alignment with what I wanted to do. Lots of people who are eager to learn and eager to make jewelry, but not buy it. Not that I need you to buy things from me. You don't have to buy anything. Your presence here is enough, but I gotta eat. And that was my goal with this channel, was to build an audience of dream clients who support me and love this brand that I'm building. Because you can relate with being a human in this world who's navigating life and figuring out how to human and how to be a human, while also erasing toxic patterns from our ancestry and breaking cycles and starting new things for our family lines that maybe your family line has never seen before. So that is really cool. That is really cool of you. And I'm glad that you're here. And I'm glad that there's many of us who have been called with a great fire in our hearts to authentically express ourselves to the world and be the change that the world needs. Welcome, you've found your people. I wanted to do a breakdown of what my goals are for 2023, inspire you to make goals. Whenever you're watching this is timeless. Be inspired to set goals no matter what day it is, no matter what time of day it is. If you feel intuitively called to set goals and create new things in your life, the beginning of the year is not necessarily the only time to do that, because truthfully, January 1st is in the middle of winter. Intuitively, most of us who live on the northern hemisphere we're in winter. Winter is not a time of starting new things. It's a time of resting and recentering and reflecting and making decisions for when spring comes and things come back to life and you can really grow the seeds that you've planted in the winter. So that's kind of what we're doing. And I want to talk about what I'm doing right now to plant a lot of seeds that will hopefully sprout and become very abundant and bountiful in this next year, this year cycle that we have in front of us. My goals for 2022 were to really address my relationship with my mind, body, and spirit. And let me just talk about what I came up with during that time. I set these tasks to do to really nurture mind, body, and spirit. So by setting these tasks, I actually found that my home was an extension of this, because I really came to the conclusion that the body is the dwelling for the soul. You've heard that a lot, right? Your body is a temple. Treat your body like it's a temple, because your soul lives in. Your soul is like this little spark of divine. Whatever God you worship, whatever religious structure that you believe in, it doesn't really matter. You have a soul, it dwells in your body. You need to take care of your body if you want your soul to really thrive and be nourished in this life that you've been given. Whether you believe it's your only one or whether you believe you've been here a million times and you'll be here a million more times, doesn't matter. This current body that you reside in is where your soul dwells. Take care of it. Exercise it, feed it well, stretch it, love it, give it rest, adorn it, dress it in cool ways, all of those things. And then as an extension, your home is where your body dwells. So therefore, it's where your soul dwells. And I think that your soul needs to live somewhere that is like interesting to your personal interests, as well as clean. And I've always been the kind of person who has like one cleaning day a week or like a couple cleaning days a month where I just power clean everything. And then my house goes to shit because I live in it and it's where I live and it's where I dwell. And it gets messy because I'm a human. That's macaroni, by the way. I'm a human and I'm messy. I'm a messy little human. And I realized that it wasn't sustainable. I created this list of tasks called my tidy tasks, where it's basically like I run the vacuum, I clean the cat box, I do my dishes, and I tidy up. And tidy up just means like I have these central zones where things land, like my desk, my coffee table, my counters. I have a chase lounge on my couch and a lot of stuff ends up just like sitting there. It's like it's where all of the stuff that I don't quite know what to do with ends up piling up. So I've created this short list of things. It usually takes between a half an hour and an hour to finish if I do all of the tasks in one day, where it's maintenance. If I can get my dishes done, that means I have an empty sink for me to like put my next round of dirty dishes in. Because once I get the thing done, once I get that tidy task done, I don't pressure myself with needing to maintain it all the time. It's like, I know that tomorrow I'll show up again and do my dishes. So if I leave my dishes in the sink tonight, it's not the end of the world. I have no reason to be like super hard on myself and super, super strict with what this looks like. I need to find a way to maintain my house in a way that works for me, where I can trust that it will continue to be maintained, where I can like live my life and be comfortable. So I created a list for like maintaining my physical dwelling, which then gives me space to then maintain like my physical being, which honestly, like maintaining my home is part of my physical routine, like is how I create peace in my physical life. But having that peace in my physical life gives me space to then exercise and create peace and expand and all of the things in my mental and spiritual world, in my mental and spiritual life. Doing yoga is a physical practice that has a positive impact on my mind and spirit. Reading a book for pleasure is something that exercises my mind. Reading something that is more like spiritually focused, like learning about different kinds of witchcraft and different world religions and different aspects of philosophy, that not only exercises my mind but also my spirit. Something that has really like come up for me is realizing that like I'm not the kind of person who's going to pick one thing and stick with that. If you're somebody who has been born into a religion and you want to stay there, or you chose one religion and you want to stay there, that's fine. But for me, I chose the path of most resistance, the left-handed path, some would say. It doesn't have anything to do with Satanism. It just means choosing the path less traveled, choosing the path that's not defined for you. So I wanted to define my own path. That's been like the nature of my spirit from being a very little being. I'm not going to do what people tell me to do just because they told me to do it. The way that I work is I need to experience it myself. I need to go off on my own. I need to follow my intuition and I need to follow my heart to decide what works for me. I grew up in a really abusive household. I don't know how much is too much talking about this, but like my dad's an alcoholic. He was raised by alcoholics. His whole family are a family of addicts. Some have passed away because of their addictions. Some are still in active addiction. It's a pattern that is very recognizable. And I was somebody who was the resisting force in my family. So there was a lot of tension, a lot of mental strife. I was, in a way, like the black sheep of the family, the scapegoat of the family, and like narcissistic personality, family dynamics. That's like the term that's most often used. And so I had a lot of wounding inside of myself from being raised in a situation where I was not accepted for who I truly was. And so 2022 was a year of deep, deep healing for me. When I turned 25 in 2021, there was like something that really shifted in me where I was no longer a child anymore. Like I could just feel like the hardening of my frontal lobe and just feel like the maturation between childhood and adulthood. And I realized that I didn't want to take this like victimhood, this nothing good ever happens to me, all of this wounding, into my adult life. So I chose healing. And around that same time I chose to cut my father out of my life, I decided in 2021 that after a trip home to visit him, that nothing was going to change. After 4 years of not really seeing him, I went home to visit him and some friends in my hometown, and it just really brought up a lot of realization that some people don't want to change. This is just my experience of some people, despite the fact that they've had 2 failed marriages, working on their 3rd, a child who doesn't want anything to do with them, can't do the mental math of realizing that maybe not all of my problems in my life are everybody else's fault. Maybe I should do some work on myself and figure that out. Some people don't have the ability or the tools or the self-esteem, honestly, to be able to do that work for themselves. And I realized at this point in my life that if I wanted to be the adult and the person that I wanted to be, I had to heal. And so I started that process, started the grieving process of realizing I'm never going to have the father that I deserved and that I needed. And 2022 then became the year of healing for me, where I've been slowly healing, but I decided to tackle it really head on and go for it. So in 2021, I decided to start going back to therapy, and I found a therapist who specializes in EMDR therapy, eye movement reprocessing and desensitization. It's a form of psychotherapy that people use for PTSD. I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder because I had many things happen to me in my childhood that were very traumatic, between actual physical events that happened to my physical body and neglect, mostly neglect. Severe neglect reads as abuse in the brain, and it processes in your body as trauma. And so I started to learn about ancestry too, and really work with venerating my ancestors during this time. And a lot of what was shown to me is that these were cycles and problems that have been going on for longer than I can really even understand, between world events that cause trauma like war and disease and plague, people losing parents at young ages, not being able to have that support system that they need, and physical substance abuse and physical violence and abuse, and people just doing the best that they can with the tools that they have in a world that was still very much about survival mode. And not to say that the world today is not about survival mode, but because of this device that I'm talking to you on and just the modern era, we live very comfortable lives where we are able to provide for ourselves, have an abundance of what we need to survive, actually be able to enjoy life and do things that we want, and give us a lot of space to be able to process traumas and do this deep spiritual work that previous generations just didn't have the luxury of doing. And so I started working with my ancestors, and a lot of this was revealed to me, and through that comes with a lot of compassion and being able to see people really are doing the best that they can with the tools that they have, and some people are just not given really any good tools to use. Maybe they're not given any tools, or they're given really rusty tools, and they don't know that healing is an option. They don't know that doing better is an option. Their self-esteem is so non-existent that they don't understand that they have the option to choose better for themselves, because a lot of the times this is cyclical. It is taught to them that they are not worthy, that they are not worth anything, and so they carry that messaging and that programming on into the next generation. Much of this nature versus nurture conversation, it really is being shown in recent years that it is nature and nurture. So personality, some people's personality is not to fight against the structures that be, and some people's are. I'm a fighter. I'm here to burn down systems. I am here to set the torch to weak, unstable systems and programs and ways of being that are not helping people. And that's something that I've learned about myself over this last year is I'm not somebody who's supposed to be super agreeable. I'm supposed to be somebody who causes a lot of tension and causes a lot of friction, because that friction is where the change really happens. And you're not going to change the world unless you cause some friction and cause people to think about things differently than the way that they've been programmed to think about them. So 2022, I did a lot of the EMDR therapy, getting the trauma out of my body, because over the years I've read all of the, codependency, narcissists, how to heal yourself, heal your life books, but you can only cognitively heal so much. And there's a lot of power in understanding why people are the way they are and how you became to be the way that you are. But until you get it out of your physical body, you're not going to see the real changes that you want with any kind of speed. It was doing this body work that helped me start healing fast. You can read The Body Keeps the Score. I can't remember the guy who wrote it. Just Google it. The Body Keeps the Score. It'll pop up. People on TikTok were talking about it a lot last year, about how different traumas just get stuck in the body. Your nervous system is like a very complex system, and when you get stuck in survival mode, it causes a lot of like stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol to be pumping through your blood at all times. You're like constantly like looking for the threat so that you can avoid it, or so that you can handle the situation. Because like for me, I was constantly in survival mode because of my upbringing, having to constantly walk on eggshells, constantly watch what I say, or else a fight might happen, and then inevitably failing because you were having to mind read to discern if somebody was going to be in a bad mood that day for whatever reason, and like try and figure out if the thing that you were going to say was going to cause a fight. 10 out of 10 usually caused a fight, because as soon as somebody is disrespectful, I'm inclined to say something. That's my personality. And therefore, not agreeable. My narcissistic parent doesn't like anybody who doesn't agree with them, who is not like super up their ass all the time. And I'm not that person. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to like inflate your ego just to make you feel good if I don't like believe what I'm saying. I had a lot of messaging that like I was a bad person, that I was no good, that there was something inherently wrong with me because my own father didn't even like me. So that means that I'm a piece of shit, and therefore I have no worth and value because the one man in my whole life who's supposed to love me unconditionally didn't. In healing, I realized he doesn't even love himself. How could he love me? He can't love himself. And recognizing that love is something that I can provide for myself. And I just had to learn how to reparent myself and learn how to take care of myself, which is where the mind, body, spirit work came in and was teaching me how to take care of myself, because that was something I never really learned how to do. I had a mother who was an enabler. And Mom, you're watching this. Don't take this personally. And that's a generational thing too. She has a mom who doesn't have confidence and never taught us how to be confident and took our voices away from us. And I love her deeply. She's my grandmother. She's been like a force of unconditional love in my life, but has also been a force of very much limiting beliefs, very much like, no, you can't do that because people can't do that. Our family can't do that. Women in our family can't do that kind of thing. So erasing that, working back and like having compassion for where she came from, but knowing that that doesn't have to be my story. So that informs most of 2022. And the healing is painful. Healing is painful. Yep. Because it is happening in your body. And a lot of it is like an energetic body kind of situation where like you have this physical body, but like in like the Vedic systems and like yoga, people talk about the chakras. Those are energy centers in your body where there are like clusters of like nerve endings. Like your heart has a lot of nerve endings in it. Your heart is very intelligent. Your heart has so much information to tell you if you're willing to listen. But religious institutions have taught us that your heart is deceitful. Not true. Because the heart will tell you how it is. And oftentimes the heart goes against patriarchal structures of oppression, which oftentimes come from contemporary Christianity. There's a mystical revitalization of Christianity that I've been seeing that is absolutely wonderful, absolutely at the heart of what Jesus was talking about. But the contemporary church that you see in the West, the evangelical church, it's not it. So a lot of us are deconstructing a lot of those like limiting beliefs about what women are supposed to do in the society, what it means to be spiritual, what it means to be mystical, and like what the true teachings of these mystical teachers are. For me, like getting a lot of that messaging off of me and out of me helps me to be my true authentic self and have more compassion for people who were indoctrinated into systems where at very young ages where they weren't given a choice and therefore are victims of these oppressive systems. And so releasing that shame has allowed me to then like work with some of the mystical like spirits that are a part of these practices. Like I had some experiences with archangels this year where they like helped me move a lot of the darkness out of my body, where I was able to see and feel evil for the first time, because there's a lot of it that like I don't believe in. I think that a lot of the evil and darkness that people talk about is like your own shadow. It's like your own darkness, because the way that I see God is like woven into the fibers of everything. Like it's not like this humanoid being, like this, the creator of all things more so. It's not like a humanoid being. It's like woven into everything, and it doesn't really care about what you do, because it is everything, and its only objective is just to experience. So it is light and dark. And so your darkness is an expression of the creator. And so instead of pushing it away and saying, no, I can't do that because that's bad, I've had to learn how to become friends with it. Because when you reject parts of yourselves, That's what's called the shadow. And this is like Carl Jung is a psychologist from the early 1900s, around the time of Freud, but not really, like, he worked with Freud for a little while, but they don't really believe the same things. That like the shadow is like a part of your psyche that is a part of you and is a part of your like your own divinity, but it's the parts of yourself that you reject. The parts of yourself that like other people tell you are bad. Like anytime that there's like messaging of like, oh, you're a good little girl if you do this and you're a bad girl if you do that. Those moments of like being a bad girl are when you are rejecting parts of yourself, like your actual like personality and your true self, that just get pushed to the side, but they don't go away. They always stay there. And then they become this like voice in the back of your head that like feels like evil, but it's not really evil. It's just your own darkness. It's your own part of yourself. But when you have true compassion for yourself and true compassion for others and true compassion for like the world around you, you can see that this darkness is a part of the divine creator. It's an expression of the creator. It's an expression of yourself. And all it wants to do is unconditionally love you. Like these parts of yourself that you've rejected love you so much that it's hard to like fathom, because it feels very uncomfortable because we've been conditioned that they're bad, that this is something that's undesirable. And so forming a relationship with our own darkness gives us a lot of room to actually be in our light and be in like the true purpose of why we're here. For example, my family's messaging is that women in our family can't sing. And so that's what I heard my whole life, like mocking people who had the audacity to join choir or join like clubs where you were singing because women in our family can't sing. But actually that's not true, because I sing very well. And it wasn't until this Christmas that I had the balls to even sing in front of other people and in a way like bring light to my family through being able to share and enjoy singing and having fun and dancing and express it, and like true like expression through the like throat and through the voice. That's what a lot of my healing last year looked like, of like doing the hard work of really looking at your own darkness and looking at this shadow part of yourself and becoming friends with it. And in many ways it hurts a lot. And this evil that I was talking about is like, I don't necessarily think like a demon, like this like humanoid demon that's like creeping behind me in the shadows. It's like layers and layers of this generational like shadow avoidance being taken out. Like I had this experience where I could just feel like this goop being pulled out of my solar plexus by Archangel Michael in a session of EMDR. Actually, I found that EMDR was very mystical for me. It's not that way for everybody, but I have a very active third eye. And so when we would go into the tapping and like doing the eye movement, I would see whole movies in my head and like things that just were beyond my imagination, or were my imagination, but not this imagination that you think it is. Like the imagination's not necessarily like this fake place. Like it's a realm in the spiritual world that exists where there's unlimited potential and unlimited possibilities. It's where like the visualization aspect of like manifesting comes in. Like you're actually spending time in that imagination space, and the imagination then comes forth for you to then be able to like craft your physical reality, co-create more so, because you're co-creating with yourself, the universe, and everybody around you all at the same time. Like you can, that's a whole nother video. I spent most of 2022 honestly on my hands and knees crying in the fetal position and like moving energy out of my body, because I knew that there was a lot stuck in my body and I had to get it out. So as a result, I put my business down like for a nap. I got a job, barely made ends meet, but I survived and I healed. It's like my year of healing and rest and relaxation, because I had to heal my nervous system. And so it's like, it feels so luxurious to say like, oh, my year of rest and relaxation. But no, really, like I had to rest a lot to get my nervous system back under control so that I could move forward and have a level head and have a clear mind to make decisions that will like eventually impact my entire life and the decisions that I make from here on out. Because I no longer wanted to make decisions based on fear and survival. I want to make decisions based on like true alignment with like my true self. In October, I think that I closed that chapter. Like I think I finished the chapter on my healing, where like the way I see it is like a video game loading screen. You can see all of the different levels that you have to complete. And you can go back and play any levels that you've already completed at any time and like do more healing if you want. But like you kind of have to do them in order to like unlock different levels. So like I had to unlock my career or like potential like future levels through doing this healing work, because I would have probably not been in like the same like romantic relationship that I'm in, same like work situation that I'm in, if I didn't do that healing. I was just gonna keep continuing cycles from my ancestors and from my past unless I like really fought to do that work. And like as David Goggins says, like lift up the rug, look under the rug, start asking yourself why you do the things you do, and start working on that. Because if you don't do that work, it's going to keep coming back to haunt you. You can run and run and run, but it's always going to find you, because the thing is, it's within you. Wherever you go, it goes. And that's the work that I did in 2022. In October, I was done, and it was like, I felt like I kept getting this message to like, stay still, stay resting. Because if you just make decisions like quickly and rashly, you're going to end up back in the same situation that you're in. Also, just like enjoy it. Like enjoy the peace of this new life that you've created, because the old life is gone. You cut the cord, it's gone. It's dead. The tower fell, boom, you can never rebuild it. Move forward. I've kind of been reflecting on my year since like November, truthfully, and considering what I want 2023 to look like and what I want the next year of my life to look like. And a lot of it was realizing, okay, a lot of that healing, I personally did not do a lot for like my physical body. I survived on like avocado toast and like coffee for like 9 months. And that does not lead to like good hormone health, good muscular development. Like there was a lot of pain in my body, in like my shoulders and my hips and stuff, that just came from inactivity. So I decided that in 2023, I was really going to like tackle my physical body and like allow my physical body to be something that like a soul would want to dwell in. My house is really like under control. Like I keep that really well maintained, but then it was like, okay, like my physical being of a home, that like the home where my soul goes or lives, no matter where I go, needs to be something that I really take care of. I had to quit smoking weed. I know, moment of silence. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. It was just something that had become my personality. Like, truthfully, while I was doing a lot of the processing of my CPTSD, I used weed as a way to cope, because some of those memories that we were processing were very, very painful. And the escape that I got from it honestly kept me alive. And so I'm thankful for the way that it helped me regulate my nervous system at a time when I couldn't. And I'm thankful that it gave me a release from the painful memories that were coming up from the work that I was doing. But for about a year, I've been kind of getting the message of like, you're gonna have to quit this if you really want to thrive. And I resisted it. And truthfully, it wasn't until about August that I really like made the decision, August of 2022, that I like made the decision that I wanted to quit. And so I quit for about a month, and I did a bunch of research about like weed and weed withdrawals. And I realized that like you do actually get physically addicted to it. It does something to your brain. It replaces neurotransmitters, and it is like a physical addiction, which is not the same thing that I learned in health class. But if I'm being honest, I grew up in the early 2000s where like weed wasn't legal and nobody really knew the impact. And especially nowadays where there's like very high concentrated THC, like in the oil cartridges, but also like the flower itself is much different than like the weed that like my parents were smoking when they were kids. The withdrawal was so hard for me. I just didn't want it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to like push through it. And so I kind of would take like tolerance breaks, like 2 weeks off there, 2 weeks off here, nothing consistent, and thought that like, oh, if I just take more breaks, that would be better. But it started to become this sensation of like a heavy weighted blanket on my shoulders at all times, where like it takes about 2 weeks for your brain to start making its neurotransmitters again. So by the time my brain was like clear from the stuff, I was going right back onto it and falling into the cycle of smoking every day, and then moving it from like just smoking at night to like smoking all day long, and just thinking that I needed it to like be cool and be Sabina, and that wasn't true. So I made the decision at the beginning of December that by the beginning of January, I would not want it anymore, and it's like something that I wouldn't need anymore. And that actually became true. And so January 1st, I quit. January 3rd, I relapsed because I came home from Christmas and I had a bunch of flour in my house, and I was like, well, I don't want it to all go to waste. And, you know, you just got to make the decision and stick to it. So the first few days were really hard, and I'm still kind of in it. Like, truthfully, I'm filming this on January 9th, and the last day that I smoked was January 3rd. And so the 4th through like the 6th, I didn't sleep. And if you know me, you know I need a lot of sleep. I'm a Taurus. Like, I need a solid 9 to feel like a normal person. I think I went like 3 days on like 6 hours of sleep because I just couldn't go to sleep. Whatever like neurotransmitters I was missing was really affecting my sleep, and therefore making me kind of depressed, and just the world didn't seem so bright. And I'm at this point now where I can sleep, so that's amazing. But I do kind of feel like the general apathy towards life, like getting my creative spark going has been really challenging. But this is where like the discipline of this year is coming in, of like setting up these acts of discipline to keep myself moving forward when towards goals that I know I want truly, because I don't wake up every day like super motivated. I have a 28-day hormone cycle. Every day of those 28 days, I don't feel like $1,000,000. It's just the way that it is. If you have a menstrual cycle, you know you don't wake up feeling the same every day because your hormones are different every single day. Men have a 24-hour hormone cycle, so you have a pretty consistent way of being every single day. Like, you feel your hormone cycle, it's much more consistent, so it's much easier to establish routine. It's much easier to like feel good about what you're doing every single day. And this is where like discipline comes in. I need to have like a set goal in mind in order to show up on those days when I don't feel like it. I really wanted to change my relationship with discipline, because I know that this like hyper masculine world that we're coming out of, that the men who can't like handle that are fighting tooth and nail to keep in, but it's dying. So it's like kind of like it's just time to like move on and get over it. That relationship with discipline, no. Where we make discipline in a way that is like supporting and uplifting, and it like meets our needs, and it's like also soft and tender at the same time. The thing that's been going around on TikTok and on the internet is the 75 hard. So it's like 75 days, 6 or 7 different things that you're supposed to do every single day. And if you miss a day, you have to start over. I love the idea of doing something for 75 days, but it's the, if you don't do it, you have to start over, that kind of feels like old world masculinity to me. And this isn't necessarily like gendered masculinity. It's like an energy of like striving is like old world masculinity, where we're not pushing ourselves to do things that are not in alignment with ourselves. We are setting up a list of things that we want to do every single day, that we also allow ourselves grace to like be humans, because at the end of the day, we are humans and we came here to experience humanity, and humans aren't perfect. So I actually saw this thing on TikTok that was called the 75 medium, where we like show up for ourselves in some way 75 days in a row. But if we like miss one little part of our list one day, we don't have to start over. We just reflect on why and how and the things that we would like to improve on, and then allow ourselves to start over the next day. And then at the end of the 75 days, reflect, maybe set another 75-day goal and keep moving forward. This is what I've chosen. I need to eat 2 meals a day, because I need to have the space to listen to my body if it needs to skip a meal, because fasting, I think, is something really important for humans. I don't think we're supposed to eat as much as our culture suggests. And that also depends on your goals. I am not a bodybuilder. I'm not doing a lot of like weightlifting. I'm not trying to like build muscle, anything like that. So fasting is something that I feel like is really important. And I need to have space to do like intermittent fasting if my body is telling me that that's what it needs. Because really the goal is like, we're learning how to listen to our body and trust that my body knows what it needs, and it has the intelligence to tell me what it needs. And I need to be able to listen to that and trust that that's true, and not use my like mental space to say, no, this is what you need actually, when it's telling me something different. So I need to be eating enough to fuel my body and fuel my brain and fuel my muscles in the way that works for me. But I also need the space to fast if that's what I need. So 2 meals seems perfect. Oftentimes I skip breakfast. I know that that's been like frowned upon, but there's something that feels really good about having my first meal a little later in the day, after I've given that like initial cortisol rush of like waking up, a time to like burn off. So like eating a meal before I drink my coffee, that's like a non-negotiable for me now, because once I've started to do that and like not drink coffee on an empty stomach, I feel like completely better. Eating 2 meals a day. Drinking a gallon of water and keeping like minerals in my water. Like I have mineral drops that I put in my water. I haven't met this goal once since starting. I usually get to about 3 liters before it's bedtime. And I'm like, I'm not gonna chug a liter of water before I go to bed, or I'll wake up 6 times in the night to go pee. But I'm realizing too that like maybe my body doesn't need a gallon of water, especially since I'm adding the minerals. And like on days when I don't take super long walks or like do a lot of exercise, I'm not perspiring as much. Also, like I do live in the desert, but it's winter right now. It's actually kind of chilly. I'm not like constantly perspiring because the weather does not call for my body to like cool itself that much. So I don't need as much water as I do during the summer. So I'm going to keep the goal at a gallon, but like be okay that I'm only drinking 3 liters a day, and understand that like 3 liters is a lot of water. I'm consistently drinking water and I'm doing okay. Reading a physical book for like 10 minutes a day. I think I want to change that to 10 pages a day because 10 minutes goes by too fast. I want to read a physical book because I have a stack of physical books that I've been collecting that I think I would like to work through. I read a lot of books on my phone, actually through like Kindle and the library app. So I still do that, but I just make sure that for 10 minutes a day, I'm reading a physical book so that I'm just getting through that list and meeting the goal of like reading more like of the books that are actually in my pile of books that I would like to read. Another one is no marijuana. I've been good about that one. I haven't broken that one for obvious reasons. Like I said before, just something that I feel like I need to like not have in my life. And so I'm giving myself 75 days, but I can already feel that it's going to be something that I do. Maybe I don't like go back to smoking weed ever. I understand that being a human, like I will probably do that. I will probably smoke weed like with my friends and in moderation, or like only in social situations, and I don't have any in my house. Because I'm a human and I like doing it and I think it's fun, but it's not something I want to get back into the habit of doing because I am already feeling the benefits of having a clear mind all the time. Another one is like doing yoga and taking a walk. I've challenged myself within this like physical body challenge this year to do yoga 300 times. So that's like about 6 days a week. And yoga for me can look like full physical asana and like getting sweaty and really like working out, but it can also look like unrolling my mat and like laying there and praying. It's really just about showing up to my mat and showing up for myself in that way. And that's been really nice and brought up some things in my head of like worthiness too already, where like I had a day where I just didn't want to do yoga. I just didn't want to do it. So I unrolled my mat and I prayed and I got the task done. So it felt good to get the task done and show up for myself, but realizing like this process is going to allow me to shift what I feel like physical, like my physical practice is, because I felt like I didn't do enough when I sat and did a meditation and prayer. But that's what yoga is really, like that's what yoga can be. It doesn't have to be physical asana. There's a lot more. That's only one aspect of many that yoga really is. So it's challenging me in that way. And it's hard to actually show up 6 times a week because there's stuff going on. So you really do have to like carve out that time for it. And it can even be 15 minutes. And realizing like when I'm showing up for myself in this way, I'm showing myself that I do actually have the ability to create time and create space for the things that I want to do. And I have a feeling that that will unroll and unravel itself more throughout the year. And taking walks because like physical movement has been really good for my brain. And like earlier today, for example, I was really anxious. I just didn't feel good. I didn't really like, I wanted to film this video, but I just was like spinning in my thoughts of like not being good enough, blah, blah, blah. So instead of driving to the post office, I walked to the post office, and gave myself an hour to walk to and from the post office. And then by the time I got back, like I was walking pretty hard. So my heart rate was up like at a pretty good rate, but I was still able to like talk and have conversation. Like I pretend to be on the phone, but I actually like externally process things while I walk. And I think it feels really good. And I feel really grounded after. So doing that practice every day, even like a 15-minute walk around the block, like helps me ground myself. And so that's something I feel like is really important to do every day. And then the last thing is journaling. So journaling 3 pages every day. And that's been really hard. I'm somebody who journals a lot, but it's been more like intuitively, like maybe I'll journal like 3 or 4 times a week. And when I have a lot to say, but showing up every single day has forced me to like think about things differently, and like realizing that that's really hard to come up with 3 things to like write about every single day. So honestly, a lot of the times I just do like a whole page of affirmations, but like that's, hey, that's enough. That's kind of where my discipline is and what I'm currently focusing on. And I'll do more update videos as like more information unravels, but I'm only like 5 days into the 75 medium challenge. And like Saturday, for example, my partner and I do like rest days on Saturday. So I didn't finish most of my 75 medium tasks on Saturday, but I also know that like rest is part of my existence here on earth. And that's why I'm doing the 75 medium instead of the 75 hard, because I need that rest day to reset my brain and my body so that I can go back into the week and like actually feel good. We call it Shabbat. It's like a Jewish thing where you take the day off to like honor God. And I have Jewish ancestors, and my partner is really into like Jewish culture. He probably has Jewish ancestors as well. And so for us, it's a way to like honor ourselves, but honor the creator, and like recognize that like resting is part of this existence here on earth. And it to me feels like I'm connecting to like a more spiritual side of myself when I do actually give myself the whole day to rest. I think that so far it feels really good to like show up for myself in this way and do these disciplined things. And I think that it will have ripple effects into my business and into like the way I show up here on YouTube. Like another goal too is to post a video once a week. So I have a tarot reading channel that I want to post on once a week, and then I want to do like either a sit down like chat like this, or like a weekly vlog, or like just showing you a collection that I'm making. I'm not going to do many more tutorial videos. Honestly, if you want to learn how to make jewelry, like find your local arts center. There are many people on the internet who teach jewelry making, but I'm realizing that my creative practice needs to be broader than just jewelry, because I make jewelry, but I also paint, I do ceramics, I'm about to start making rugs. There's a lot of things that I like to do. I'm just a very creative person, and putting myself in the box of like, I'm only allowed to make jewelry, it like activates my rebellious side, where then I'm like, no, I'm never gonna make jewelry again because you told me I had to. And that doesn't feel good, because I enjoy making jewelry and it's something that I really love to do. So I don't want to activate that side of myself and be a rebel, because there's no cause when it comes to this. It's only self-sabotage when I do that. So in the spirit of being kind to ourselves, I am just opening this up to being more of a personal brand, where if you like it, come along for the journey. And if not, that's cool too. I'm not going to force anyone to be here. I want you to resonate with the things that I'm saying, because I do. I don't know. I just want like-minded people to be here, and people who can resonate with my journey and where they're at too. Like maybe you're trying to reestablish a relationship with discipline and your physical body and the spirit world and how you show up in the world. Because truthfully, I think that like we're at this age in the world where we're really being called to show up authentically. And if you're not authentic, people can smell it. I don't know about you, but I can smell people's insecurities from a mile away. And I can tell when you're acting out a persona and a personality and not being truly authentic to yourself. And it's not a judgment. I try to have compassion, because I understand that a lot of us are stuck in that survival mode. A lot of us are stuck in those like cycles that our families gave us. Families and society, honestly. And a lot of us are performing and masking because we don't know who we truly are. And I try to have compassion for that. But if you're on this authenticity journey, welcome. I'm along on this ride as well, and I learn new things every day, and it's not perfect. Oh, also what we're doing is we're releasing this idea of perfection, because we can't control anything beyond the way that we react. And that is really empowering when you realize that you can't really control the way other people show up in the world, and you can't control everything. And like perfectionism is a form of self-sabotage. And so we're just on this journey to like recognize where we're being perfectionists and where we're trying to control things, and not do that anymore, because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to me when I'm trying to control a situation and control an outcome because I want safety. Because that's not really ever true. Like my idea of control is one thing, and then the reality is another. So controlling what we can and relaxing and surrendering to everything else. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you're working on this year. I'd love to hear what your goals are and how you're tackling it. I will see you again in a few days. I hope that you can give yourself time to do something fun. And remember that when you show up authentically, you give others the permission to do so as well. That's not my line. That's actually from Chloe Taylor, the tarot reader. So thank you, Chloe, for sharing your light in this world and encouraging people to show up authentically and give us the courage to show up authentically ourselves and to pass that message along to others. So until I see you again, toodles. Oh yeah, if you want to support this channel, you can like do all the things, you know, subscribe, like, comment. If you want to support me financially, help me pay my bills and feed my cats, you can do so by either donating to the cause. If you just want to throw money at me, just give me your money. I'll have my Venmo and PayPal down below. And if you want to get something out of it, I sell my art. I do. I personally feel more comfortable if you buy something from me, because then it's like an exchange of energy. Like you get to enjoy something and have something to like adorn your body with and adorn your home. And like, you know, make the vessel that your soul lives in like kind of look more slay and cool and more in alignment with your true authentic self. And also adorn your home, because like I said earlier in this video, your home is the dwelling for your body, which is therefore the dwelling of your soul, and you might as well live somewhere that looks really cool and has really cool things in it that like please you in a way that is beyond just this physical realm. So you can do that with the link down below. I have a link to my website, and you can follow me on Instagram if you want. I don't like Instagram, but I still post there sometimes. I also shit post on TikTok and do silly things on TikTok and talk about like day-to-day, more behind the scenes, like what I'm thinking about in the moment kind of content there. So you can follow that. Okay, bye for real this time. Bye.